Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. If we're talking like a little bit extra quiet, we had one hell of a time putting Charlotte down tonight, and the fear of waking her up is stopping me from speaking any louder than this.
Yeah, pretty much. She sleeps in the room right next to us.
Right
and
next.
This room is not abundantly quiet or anything like that, so it's just mildly concerning. Like if she wakes up, I might die. So there's that.
Anyway, today we're going to be talking about what's it called again?
Our fantasy self.
Fantasy self. We're going to talk about what our fantasy self would love in terms of like eyeshadow palettes. So we are color lovers. We use a lot of color. So our fantasy self is very neutral and glam and gorgeous, and typically I would say no falsies, but we don't wear those anymore. But like just very makeup artist, like Hugh Van Gogh, if that's his name, or Hung Van Gogh. I always read it in a different way. Katie Jane Hughes, but like
Katie Jane Hughes is a great example.
She's kind of spicy too, but just what we would use. So if you're interested in seeing the palettes that we would love to use all the time, but our soul is not quite there for that, then just keep on watching. I do want to mention really quickly, I'm wearing the new Kaleido Space Age Prophecy highlighter. It is the first ever multi-chrome highlighter. Well, I don't know if you can tell on camera because you really can't in the pictures I took either, but it is very intense and very crazy,
nuts.
But very, very pretty, very fun.
It's
not
gorgeous.
For the faint of heart, not for the natural skin days, but did just want to mention that in case you're like, what the fuck is going on her cheeks today? I was feeling spicy. It's Thanksgiving.
In person, it's so cool. It's like orange and then it shifts green and yellow, and it's surprisingly flattering.
It's
Like,
very cool.
I don't think it looks bad at all. It's very pretty. I like it a lot. Anyway, we're gonna go through palettes first that we own and that we don't use as much necessarily because of these fantasy self kind of cravings, and then we'll kind of go through items on the market that we always yearn for that we would never use if we bought them.
First, I'm going to talk about this Kaja stack. This is in the shade 08 Chocolate Dahlia. It's just this cute little itty bitty stack. It's got Kaja sent this to us in PR, FYI. We got this, like, it's got this little champagne shade and then like a mid-tone brown and then just like a deeper brown. And this is quite literally exactly what my fantasy self would wear. Just easy, you know, it takes 2 minutes, but you still look gorgeous and stunning and
natural,
glittery too. Like there's a little bit of spice in here. This is one of those products because it's so tiny, it's so compact. It's not screaming makeup hoarder, you know, to the average person. This says beauty. This says luxury, but make it small. I love it. I do like. I used it on my outer corner today for my bronzer and crease kind of vibe. It's so cute. Definitely not something I'm gonna get a ton of use out of though, because how often do we wear neutrals?
Yeah, I used it once and it was definitely very pretty. Don't get me wrong there. It's just, it's neutrals, and they aren't really deep, punchy kind of neutrals. So that makes it like even more of a pain in the butt to grab for sometimes. I'm glad to have gotten it. Like, I'm very thankful they sent it to us, don't get me wrong, but it's just one of those fantasy self products. Similarly, the e.l.f. bite-sized quad in cream and sugar is another fantasy self product. It's very similar to the Kaja one as far as why. It's just neutrals. At least here you have a little bit of extra depth, though I don't find that e.l.f.'s formula really packs the punch you might need for the depth that it shows in here. It doesn't translate as rich on the eyes. And I definitely like this. I've used it and I enjoyed the looks that came out of it, or I paired it with other things. It's just like, you know, a matte cream, really? And then shimmers that aren't textured and chunky, really?
No hot pink or blue.
No hot pink or blue. You know, it's just not something that I'm going to gravitate towards often. I'm gonna keep this around for the time being and see if I ever use it again. If not, I'll declutter it. No harm, no foul. It was $3, but it's just one of those things.
So I have raved about this palette, so I do love it. All right, let's not pretend like I don't love it. This is the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. My fantasy self would have this on her in her bathroom, or like on her vanity with a couple, you know, Real Techniques brushes and a MAC paint pot. That's what I would have for my eyes. Maybe a pigment or two. Like I would be like just spicy enough to pull off some of these colors, but But on most days, I would stick to this side, you know, like, this truly is my dream palette if I was somebody who didn't like fun things. That sounds really mean. I love this palette dearly. This is probably at this point my favorite neutral palette of all time. I love the formula. It's gorgeous. It's deep skin friendly. It's amazing. The shimmers are gorgeous. They're what we like to call crease shimmers. So none of them have like too much like texture. They're more just shimmers rather than like metallics
or glitters.
Or glitters. And so they're very wearable, like very seems very up the mature eyelid alley. You know what I mean? Like
work appropriate.
My fantasy self would be living in this. Living. I can't even. I would bring this traveling with me, like Born to Run, like the name and all the stuff on the packaging. I would drink some wine. Love it.
The ones I have here are kind of like a double-edged sword. They're both my fantasy self and my real self. Similar to the Born to Run, they are palettes that I love dearly, but I don't reach for often because they are more of my fantasy self. This one, the Bronze palette from Natasha Denona, is a little more realistic for me as far as neutrals go. It looks a little more washed out on camera. I swear this is the most rich, gorgeous, stunning, textured neutral palette you will find on the market to date. You can't go wrong with this in my humble opinion. I love the cream to powder formula. I love everything about this, but I just don't wear neutrals all that often. When I do, like when I want to look like bad, when I want to look good, you know, bad, you know,
like a baddie.
You know, when I want to feel like I'm not Dora the Explorer with blue hair, I pull out this palette. Like this is like a date night palette for me. This is a sultry, like trying to get it kind of palette, you know. And then the Glam palette from Natasha Denona. This one is a little more well, it's definitely cool tone. That's not what I was gonna say. It's a little lighter in the tones in here, so you don't have as much versatility for skin tones, I don't think, compared to the Bronze palette. But you are getting some lovely, lovely, lovely cool tones. I love my cool tones, but these, again, they're not as rich as I typically like them. If this center shade, the steepest one, was the cream to powder formula, if you just switched out like these two shades from the Bronze palette and put them in the Glam palette, which we could very well do, that would be something that I reach for more often. Again, they're both palettes that we love and cherish, but don't gravitate towards all that often.
Yep, I would agree with that. My date night self loves a good cool toned eye look. I always reach for something in the neutral to cool tone Natasha Denona when I'm trying to look bad.
I like to do cool tones with like a pop of purple.
Not me, I just like cool tones.
Love it.
So I did want to mention, we don't support ABH, but God, my fantasy self would be rolling in their eyeshadow. Rolling around.
Like Soft Glam and the Sultry palette.
Oh. The Sultry palette? Oh my god. The way I still want that, even though I don't support ABH, so I'm not going to, because they brought it back in like a bundle thing.
I wanted that palette so bad.
ABH gives, like, well, did give before Norvina
Trash the brand.
Gave very much like classy but fun. Like they killed it on that level. Like how could you make a color lover want every neutral palette you release? All right, Miss Anastasia had it down packed because I bought everything that they launched. Norvina messed it up, but my fantasy self would be living her best life that way. Or let me not talk about Going Coconuts. The ColourPop
Oh my
palette.
god, ColourPop, Going Coconuts, That's Taupe, and Stone Cold Fox palette. All three of them.
Our fantasy self
all three of them
would be diving into those.
Living. I still, like, currently want all of them.
Even though I mean, Going Coconuts literally looks like the most boring palette ever, but everybody's like, they're not too warm and they're not too cool. So now I'm like, do I actually have neutrals or do I have too many warm tones or too many cool tones? It makes me question my existence, and I don't even love ColourPop's formula. What is it? What's the point?
There's something.
Who am I? What am I? Why am I like this? You know, makeup goblins come out to play when somebody releases a goddamn neutral palette.
Same with, well, these aren't eyeshadows necessarily. We have some water activated liners. Those are very much a fantasy self product of ours.
Like Euphoria.
Yeah, like I want like Euphoria cut creaser on Instagram. Like
Minimal but exciting.
Minimal but graphic and sharp and edgy and like new and fun. Oh, I want to be that person so bad, but I have shaky hands.
You should have seen me this morning. You should. I could barely even hold a freaking glass of water. I was like,
she was showing her boyfriend a swatch of that multi-chrome highlighter, and she's like, look. Look at it.
Pretty.
She's like, are you okay? It was a mess.
So yeah, we can't do graphic liner very often because we're not built like that.
I feel similarly about Fantasy Self. Oh, the Rowan eyeshadow quads. Are they Rowan?
Yes,
Yeah.
but our real self would also get some use out of
The
those.
only thing about my Fantasy Self is my Fantasy Self loves creasing eyeshadow. Like my Fantasy Self wants to be editorial and like sweaty, like eye gloss kind of stuff. I hate when eyeshadow creases. It's like the worst. If I look in the mirror and my eyeshadow is creased, I'm like, it torments my soul, and I can't stop thinking about it until I can wash my makeup off. Like I'm like, everybody's like, wow, look at this dummy, didn't use a good eyeshadow
leave the
primer.
house anymore.
Oh my god, I can't, like, my mirror self is judging me when I have creasy eyeshadow. And did you hear that noise? I don't know what that was. Where was I? Oh, and I've heard that those Rowan quads like crease on you like crazy, so
Editorial us would be, you know, quaking.
all over it.
I think the last one on my list, and this one is definitely still something that I am thinking about buying on this holy day, Black Friday. The Natasha Denona Viva palette. You guys know my love for Natasha Denona. You guys know my love for Samantha Ravindal. Samantha Ravindal loves that palette. Is there ever a time where Samantha Ravindal has steered me wrong? No, not once. Not once in this life has she ever steered me wrong.
The thing is, we know we would like it.
We just wouldn't
quality-wise.
use it.
It's just we wouldn't use it.
And, you know, between the glam palette and the bronze palette, like, we have most of the kind of
The vibe of the Viva palette, yeah.
But guess what? It's a whole different palette, baby. It's a whole different palette. I won't buy it, but it's 30% off, so, like, I want to, but, like, I won't.
I'm like, I wish this video was going up on Black Friday. It's not, so I can't have you guys help me, but I'm, like,
ask Twitter.
This close.
No, Twitter's not good for that. Ask Instagram.
I'm this close to buying the blue purple palette from Natasha.
It's 50% off.
It is 50% off. I have 3 items in my
Need
cart,
we say more?
and it equals less than the cost of the blurple palette alone.
I want the star palette.
Pre-sale. I want the star palette too for whatever reason. But the thing is, the blurple one I see myself using. Maybe not finishing up, you know, but there's like those rich navies and there's like duochromes, and I know I love the texture from her original like big palettes, but it's so much more deep and rich and colorful and fun and cool toned than the green brown one that we own. And I think I just sold myself. I'm gonna get it. I'm ashamed. I'm having a makeup goblin moment. Please move on.
I said that was my last one. Why
Oh.
are you telling me to move on?
I have this thing where I want like, similar to like eyeglasses and stuff, I want like potted eyeshadows a lot.
Like the Tarte Chrome paints, the
Or even
Eyes
like,
to Mesmerize,
Yeah.
from Charlotte Tilbury, the Hourglass Scatter Lights, the Marc Jacobs,
like
whatever's.
similar to those like L'Oreal, oh god, what were those? They were so good.
I'll have to insert a picture. They're like
Are
the
they,
infallible
do they still
chrome
exist? Yeah, like
somethings.
the infallible eyeshadows. Oh my god, those were so good. I used those so much. And same with like there's a MAC paint pot. I think it's called sandalwood or rosewood or something wood probably. But it's like a metallic bronze, and it's because Jessica Braun uses it. I know that's why I want it.
Would I ever use it? No,
But I would literally never use it, not once. But gosh darn, do I want it?
Fantasy self of ours would be just fucking living. I mean, skin would be relatively the same as like what we do now, because we kind of like to balance our insane eyes with more natural skin. I mean, not today, but a lot of times we do. I mean, I mean, we like a lot of blush, fucking sue me, but like, other than that, we're pretty light on the application of a lot of things. But I guess that's all I have for my Fantasy Self eyeshadow palettes. I just want to be a bronze queen. Bex on Twitter gives me the vibes that I would love. I would love to have big, I would like to have longer hair with like Victoria's Secret waves, my fantasy self.
What color is your hair in this fantasy self?
Like a honey blonde, like with low lights. But my real fantasy self is definitely 90s, 80s. My glam fantasy self is like, you know, runway models.
My fantasy self, and I'm also this close to doing this, is
Pixie cut, baby.
pixie cut.
Alice.
Bleach, blonde, messy, banged, choppy, pixie cut. And I look like an e-girl. I have tattoos up to here. I wear a lot of blush. Blush on the nose. Nice, like, still my freckles. Like, really bubbly overline lips. Like, really sturdy.
Like snitchery.
Yeah, like snitchery. And then a big old wing liner. Please, please. And my glam fantasy self is similar to Rachel's, as where I have very long, like bombshell kind of Victoria's Secret waves, you know.
I feel like your fantasy self is kind of what you looked like right after high school.
Yeah, I lost my fantasy self a long time ago. Well, actually, I lost my fantasy self right after getting pregnant. I have natural freckles. I don't draw them on in this fantasy self.
Oh, just add a little mascara and Glossier.
I look
Glossier.
Face-wise, I want to look like, what's her name? Gina
Svedka.
Svedka?
I think that's her last name. I don't pronounce.
I'll have to link her. She looks exactly how I would like to look for the rest of my life. Granted, she has filler and things, which is all great and fine and well. She'll be the first one to tell you that, but so I guess it could look like that.
Yeah. Just ask Dr.
That's good news.
Anyway, sorry for rambling, as always. That is all for today's video. Let us know how you're enjoying our little 25 days of eyeshadow. Is it overkill every time we upload a video? Are you like, let me shoot myself? Or are you excited and happy to be here with us? Just
we realized today we're dangerously underprepared.
Oh, so. We're on video 4 and it is Thanksgiving, so it's the 26th.
So we're gonna have to pump some videos out on Sunday and Monday.
Anyway, see you guys in the next one.